Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. You're telling me that I didn't look at Twitter for a single day and they add "My name is Edwin" to the game. Is that what's going on now? Okay, but is this silhouette actually Edwin? We need to talk about it. Slices, put on your apons and let's bake ourselves a theory. For anyone who doesn't know, as of recording this like 2 days ago, but probably when it comes out last week, Secret of the Mimic received a patch update. Now, it was mostly bug fixes and quality of life stuff. Things like fixing typos, adjusting translation lines, adding some extra autosaves that help with some pain points, and the like. Although, admittedly, the line updated and added various text, images, and SFX in Moon.exe has me admittedly worried. But I did check and didn't find anything, so it's a wide game. Maybe I missed something, but this is probably more of a bug fix than an additional feature. But the most striking addition to this game, I think, is something not mentioned in the patch notes at all. They added this silhouette, something that you can see at the very beginning of the game and at the end, in the office where the Digityper is located, through the window from the warehouse. And like, they had to know what adding a shifty silhouette would spawn, lore-wise. But again, the question of the hour is, what is this creature? Unfortunately, the file name is not going to be of any help here, because very quickly fans found the file of this silhouette PNG, and it's just labeled HDRI_warehouse, misspelled, _00_silhouette, misspelled, .uasset. So that doesn't give us any information either way. It seems like they've learned from their past mistakes. Cassidy, Princess Quest. So instead of using the file name, we'll have to intuit our answer using the logic we can gather about its actions, location, and timing. So to make things easier, let's start with the possibility that's on everyone's mind first. Edwin Murray himself. Could this shadow be Edwin? Well, after all, it's definitely shaped like an adult man. And if Edwin was still around, the idea that he's lurking around the facility, keeping an eye on anybody who enters, does make sense. He was sort of a recluse, and by the end of the company, he became very paranoid, so the idea of a man who hides away in an office and stares at you while you're playing makes a lot of sense. But the issue I have with this shadow being Edwin is twofold. One, if he was around the facility, I assume M1 would have found him by now. The entire game, we're being perceived by M1, to the point where when we disappear from M1's vision, she thinks it's notable and comments on it. So if we're being constantly surveyed and watched, I think it incredibly possible that Edwin Murray would have been caught sneaking around the facility by now, especially if he's been doing so for several years. Near the end of the game, M1 tells us herself that Edwin Murray locked himself away in his manor and has never returned, which not only tells us that Edwin locked himself away in the manor, but it also implies that M1 does have a way to track him, at least within the facility, and she knows that he has not returned. So this being Edwin is a little unlikely. But even if we assume that she can't track him, and that Edwin is sneaky, and he was able to outmaneuver M2, who's actively hunting any human who walks in the building, and M1, who's able to survey Arnold throughout the entire game, if Edwin is able to survive and sneak past both of those entities, there's still one other issue. He's probably dead? Man, this dungeon is getting monotonous. I could really use something to pick me up. Oh, a sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most thorough and comprehensive vehicle game ever made, and it's available now free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. That's right, mobile devices too. War Thunder's mobile version is available on Android and iOS, so you can bring the battlefield to wherever you are. This mobile version is filled with insanely good graphics, the massive scale of multiplayer warfare, and sea battles with air support. In War Thunder, you can take command of more than 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 different nations, spanning across time periods and histories. Everything from modern fighter jets to the armored cars of the 1920s. And you get to see every part of that with the impressive X-ray damage view, where if your vehicle or an enemy is destroyed, you can see exactly where the shell penetrated, what was damaged, and what specifically destroyed it. All of this helps to immerse you in the intense combat of War Thunder. The detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sounds make you feel right at the helm of these powerful machines. Ones that you can customize with War Thunder's countless camouflages, historical markings, and all kinds of decorations. So join a worldwide community of over 95 million players in massive PvP battles right now, and immerse yourself into the breathtaking experience of War Thunder. With mountains of prime grade content to discover, there is not a single better game made for fans of military history. Play War Thunder for free right now on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile devices, using my link in the description or the pinned comment. And War Thunder is giving an incredibly kind bonus pack to new and returning players on PC or console who haven't played in the last 6 months. This bonus pack includes the exclusive Vehicle Decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of a premium account. This offer is only for a limited time, so hurry. Thank you again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Now, how am I gonna get out of this dungeon? Huh. Well, thanks, War Thunder. Look, I know they didn't show us Edwin's body. They didn't show us a body in a game filled with human bodies for the first time in a long time. So technically, there is a chance that he survived. We never see him die. But let's be super real. If Edwin was trapped under rubble and we hear him begging for his life, and then the audio cuts out, the dude is nearly definitely dead, unless there's some remnant shenanigans going on that healed him, or he miraculously crawled his way out into safety without being caught by M2. It seems almost impossible that Edwin Murray would have survived what happened to him. But this silhouette existing is technically the first good evidence I've heard of him surviving the explosion. Since the motivations do seem to line up, this could be proof of life. So look, it could be Edwin. And that would be especially funny considering, you know, my name is Edwin. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if it is Edwin. So who else then could it possibly be? Well, is this silhouette the Mimic? Looks-wise, probably not. I mean, look at this silhouette compared to the Mimic. Now, granted, the Mimic can wear any costume it so desires. It might be wearing one of those toy soldiers at this point. There are some stationed nearby. So, theoretically, it could look the part, but does it act the part? This silhouette is sort of implying somebody is stalking the halls, looking for us, observing us from a distance without trying to be seen or interact with us directly. And is that something the Mimic would possibly be doing? Well, at the very beginning of the game, it does do that once. It peers at us through this window near the power generator, but it disappears once we look at it for too long. However, for the rest of the game, the Mimic is actively hunting us down and not necessarily trying to be stealthy, and the moment it sees us, it full sprints after us. This is not the actions of a silent hunter. This is the actions of a predator looking for prey. So the idea that the Mimic is silently stalking you, being all cool and stuff from across the building, doesn't really line up with the actions the Mimic does throughout the game. All in all, the Mimic similarly seems like an unlikely candidate for this silhouette. It would have to be wearing a specific costume, and we would have to be catching it shambling around looking for us. Otherwise, the shape and demeanor don't match. So if it isn't Edwin, and it isn't the Mimic, who could it possibly be? Well, some people have pointed out that the room we see the silhouette in is the Digityper room. And that would make sense as a fake out scare. You start the game and you see this silhouette in the distance watching you, but when you finally get there, you find out it's not some sinister person watching you, it's a monotonous robot doing its tasks until the end of time. If we only ever saw this silhouette at the very beginning of the game, I would fully agree with this interpretation, that Digityper is the silhouette and it's a fake out scare. But that falls apart under scrutiny. Not only does this silhouette slide back and forth, which Digityper never does, but you could excuse that. Digityper is very visibly destroyed, to the point that it's a cutscene that opens up to the very first boss fight of the game. It was in a teaser image, it was in the demo at PAX. It's something that happens right in front of you and you are forced to watch. We know Digityper is definitively destroyed. But as HyperDroid pointed out on Twitter, not only is the silhouette visible at the beginning of the game, but when given the choice to leave through the van, the silhouette appears once more in the same window, as if to watch what Arnold does when given the choice of freedom. And by this point in the game, Digityper has been fully destroyed for like 4 hours. So even if this initial silhouette was Digityper, there's absolutely no way the silhouette at the ending could be Digityper. So we're once again out of options. So who the hell is this guy? Looking at the information in front of us, Digityper is impossible, and the Mimic's motivations don't really make sense. So it kind of either has to be a brand new character or Edwin Murray. And I have no idea how Edwin would be in the facility and not actively be hunted down by either M1 or M2. But if he was alive, and if he was somehow evading suspicion, this perfectly lines up for his motivations. A guy who locked himself away with the only working Digityper, seeing us visit the facility, looking at us through the window, wondering what we're doing here, and then hiding away. But once we go to leave, once everything is settled, he returns once more to see what happens when we're given the choice to leave. He's the only one whose motivation makes any sort of sense. Who could possibly be there? That, or again, a brand new character we've yet to meet. Now again, the Mimic could theoretically have the motivation to stalk us and just watch us, but even if you want to excuse that motivation and you want to excuse the costuming, the timing here is also iffy with that ending information. The time of the ending when we get to see this silhouette is like 10 seconds before we enter our van and leave, and the Mimic hid in our van to kill us when we drove away, which would mean, if this is true, we would have to be able to see the silhouette, and then within the 10 seconds it takes to get from this office to our van in the same room, the Mimic would have had to sprint it across the factory and then silently open and closed our van basically in front of us right before we left. And look, the Mimic is fast, but that's crazy. That ending shot alone dismisses the Mimic and the Digityper as possibilities, which as far as I'm aware only could leave it up to Edwin or a new character. So I guess it probably is Edwin. I guess he's survived the crash. Maybe the DLC is us as Edwin exploring the wreckage, or possibly at one of the endings where Arnold somehow survives, Edwin encounters him and tries to help him get Mexus up and running again. But this could be the path they go for DLC, but there's only one way to know for sure. Wait till the full game comes out. But that's my thoughts on this weird silhouette that Steel Wool added specifically to fuck with me. And don't forget to play War Thunder right now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices with the link in my pinned comment or description. War Thunder is giving new and returning players who haven't played in the last 6 months a free bonus pack that includes the exclusive Vehicle Decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of a premium account. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. In the meantime, if you want to hear about a theory that spawned from such a specific location I never thought I'd use for lore, you can go to last week's Monty theory where I used somebody's portfolio. I'm not kidding. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share with hashtag ToastArt. A huge shout out to the best channel members, the Dough Risers. Until next time, as always, stay toasty slices.